Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show right here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you for listening on the app and following us on all of our social medias, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitch. Did I miss anything? YouTube. Yeah, we everywhere. We're everywhere, baby.
Most importantly, though, the app. You got to download the Woodward Sports Network app because it's just the most convenient way to listen to your favorite show.
Yeah, and eventually that app is going to be filled almost 24 hours a day with content, so anytime you turn it on, we will have something for you, which is awesome. I can't wait to program that.
That's going to be real fun.
It's going to be amazing. So let's talk a little bit about Quintez Cephus. Like I said, if you don't know about Quintez Cephus and his story, the Lions were able to draft him in the 5th round of last year's draft, and he should have probably been a 2nd or 3rd round pick. The reason he fell in the draft is because he had to take a year off at Wisconsin. He was suspended from the program. He was accused of raping 2 young women. That case went to trial. It came out that it was a consensual threesome that he had with those young ladies. There were text messages absolving him from any wrongdoing. It got to the point where even the jury, when they were delivering their decision, apologized to Quintez Cephus that he had to go through this. And I know we talk about how women a lot have to protect themselves and be aware of their surroundings and make sure that they're making smart decisions. As a man, I've also had to have not this conversation with myself, but something that I also have to realize is men, you can't put yourself in those types of positions either. And it's unfortunate that there's people that are out there that will take advantage of both men and women. But that's the reality that we live in as a society. And unfortunately for Quintez Cephus, he got sucked up in a lie. He got sucked up into something that damn near ruined his life. And all because these girls wanted attention. And I'm trying to hold my words back from being too abrasive to these girls.
I mean, realistically, you can't. I mean, there's nothing that you could say that's wrong on a matter like this because this is something that's so serious.
Yeah.
It's a problem that you should never joke about. And then you look at these 2 girls and what they did. When you lie about that, you bring the severity to this. You lessen it for other cases because you're not defending them. And if you lie about something like this, it's just so wrong because this is something that you do not mess with.
Yeah, and I don't want to play the victim as a man by any stretch of the imagination, but, we've worked in the radio business for a long time. We've hosted nightclubs. We've been around drunk girls constantly, right, Joey? And in those situations, you're putting yourself at risk because that girl could misinterpret something or something could happen to where anything she says, she's going to get the benefit of the doubt. And you know that as a young man. I know that if somebody accused me of rape or somebody accused me of physically harming them, I'm guilty till I prove myself innocent. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and play men are the victim, but that is a reality for young men that are out in public and doing things like this.
I think it's the reality, too, because there are not harsh enough penalties against women who falsely accuse men of rape. And I empathize with anybody who's been raped or they've been sexually assaulted. I actually stopped my friend in the middle of stopped my friend from being in the middle of a day rape. Somebody drugged her drink. I kind of noticed she was like not herself, and the dudes were trying to get her go away with it. And I'm like, nah, she good. I got her. So I took care of the night, and when the next morning I say, hey, go straight to the hospital, found out that she had date rape and ecstasy in her drink.
Wow.
So it's like in situations like that, like we said, women got to protect themselves, and then also too on the men's side is like he almost became like Brian Banks. You guys familiar with that story? Mm-hmm. Brian Banks coming out of high school was verbally committed to USC. Woman falsely accused him of rape. He did 6 years. He didn't get out until he was able to kind of almost, I think he tricked her into like a message of telling on herself, and then that's how he got out.
Yeah.
So it's going to continue. I empathize with anybody who has been a victim or assaulted, but it's not playing the victim when when you're worried about men being falsely accused, and we're seeing a lot of instances of it coming up.
Yeah, obviously the biggest case that I can remember in my lifetime is the Duke lacrosse case. Like a whole team's life got destroyed because of a lie. And if you ever watch the 30 for 30 on that, it's crazy how that turned out, because it's not only that the girl lied, it's that a politician paid her to lie because he wanted the African American vote in North Carolina, and he thought being on her side, like, that is just such a twisted web, that whole story. And unfortunately, like 20 kids paid the price for it. Duke lost their whole lacrosse season. These kids lost scholarships. They're marred for life. This is on their record. But anyways, getting back to Quintez Cephus, he is suing Wisconsin for the way they handled this case.
Hard to blame him.
I mean, think about what was the draft picks that you were saying that he was supposed to be before all this went down?
He would have been a second or third round pick, and that's just me on my talent evaluation.
Right.
But we got him in the 5th round, and honestly, when you go back and watch his film in college and you watch what he accomplished at Wisconsin, he was clearly at minimum a 3rd round pick.
When did it come out that he was not proven guilty?
Well, they reinstated him back in Wisconsin after he was found not guilty, but he lost an entire season.
Right.
And then when he was reinstated, Wisconsin goes 10-4. They have a good season, and everybody knows this kid's talented. I mean, he's very talented. We were very lucky to land him where we landed him, and I think some teams actually stayed away from him because of character issues, even though he was falsely accused, which eventually cost him money. Like 3rd round picks get paid a lot more than 5th round picks just trying to make the roster. So he's suing Wisconsin, and this is what his lawyer says. He wants to set a precedent so schools are more careful and more diligent on how they proceed on cases, and not just sort of rushing ahead to judgment when they know for a fact they did not have all the evidence. So what he's feeling is that they had the text messages showing that it was consensual, but Wisconsin just overlooked it. Let's make sure Art's mic is up. What's up, Art?
Yeah, so my question is this. So he's suing the state of Wisconsin then. What about the girls that were involved? And no criminal charges, no civil lawsuits, nothing like that? Because to me, when you make a false accusation like that, you have to pay for that. Like, whether you're male, female, it doesn't matter. Like, you're accusing someone of doing something that it never happened, and that person has to live with that for the rest of their life.
I mean, to me, the penalty should be very simple. Whatever he would have gotten if he was found guilty for rape, they should get the same exact sentence.
Amen.
Like, it's such a logical step. Like, you accuse someone of rape, and you're proven beyond a reasonable doubt wrong, because there's always going to be cases where somebody accuses and there's not enough evidence, but they still did get raped, right?
Well, and you see this a lot with, death row cases too, to where someone's up for, murder, they're on death row, they're about to die, literally, by the hands of the law, and then it gets washed out, and it's, oh, you get released, you're good. It's like, what about all that time and energy that, Quintez went through? What about all that emotional strain, all that money that he lost?
I know, and that's the thing. Like, how do you make that up? And even if he does win the lawsuit, it doesn't change anything. Like, at least a year of his life was ruined, period.
Yeah. He doesn't get anything back. Nobody who's on the bad of a situation like Cephus or Brian Bakes, they don't get anything back, which is why there needs to be harsher penalties for people who do these false accusations, because it will make them think twice about ruining somebody's life over their own personal feelings. If it really happened to you, by all means, go to the authorities and go through the proper channels to report it. But if you're just doing this just to ruin somebody's life and get back at them, and it's totally 100% false, you should face you should face the harshest penalty that any person can face for that type of crime.
I just don't understand law, because my biggest issue with this is you have the evidence. He had the evidence from the day he found out that he was getting sued for this.
Right, and that's why he's suing Wisconsin.
It makes no sense to me. Like, how can you ruin his life for an entire year just for this because of what you heard?
So here's what they're saying is happening at Wisconsin. Wisconsin has a history of overlooking charges and overlooking young women coming forward. Like, I mean, you saw it with Larry Nassar at Michigan State University. Women came forward for years and years and years and years and years, and Michigan State did absolutely nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
And like that whole athletic department should be ashamed of themselves to this day for how they handled it, and anybody involved in it should be ashamed of themselves. But Wisconsin kind of did the same thing. Like they had reported rape cases on campus, and they just kind of brushed them under the rug. We need tuition. We need girls to feel safe here. We need people to come to the college. And that's exactly why he's suing them, because he feels that they proceeded quickly without evidence, even going against contradictory evidence, to make this happen, because he was a high-profile athlete there, and if they make an example out of him, they've done something.
And that's the issue with this, is that they used him as an example.
Yep.
And I don't know if defamation is the right word on something like this, but I mean, it definitely ruined his name.
Yeah, well, according to the article, it says they say that the school acknowledged it had unsuccessfully attempted to obtain evidence and went ahead with disciplinary hearings anyway. So even like they knew that they didn't have it, but they were like, you know what, we got to make an example of this guy, because if we don't make an example of him, it's going to seem like we don't care about this at all, when literally their actions for the past 10 years made it seem like they didn't care about it at all.
And just the story on this passage in this paragraph in this Yahoo story just makes it seem like they want to use Cephus as the scapegoat to clean to wash away their quote unquote sins, and it's backfiring in there, rightfully so.
Yeah, so, we're going to see how this lawsuit winds up. I messaged Quintez Cephus. I'm going to try to get him on the show, because I think hearing his side of the story is so important, and just people understanding what happens when you make these false allegations. It's really life-changing for these kids, and, nobody should have to go through that. And, on the same side of the coin, no woman should ever have to feel assaulted, or that they've gone through any sexual type of situation that they do not consent to.
There's a common factor in both of those things. Women who are sexually assaulted, their lives are quote unquote messed up.
Oh yeah, God.
And the men who are falsely accused, their lives are messed up.
Yep.
So it's just an ugly double-edged sword in that situation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this comes out. And also, to your point, Joey, I'm going to be interested to see if he's also going to countersue the plaintiffs in the case for falsely accusing him. We'll find out.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so. I mean, you don't just brush this to the side.
No. If I'm going at him, I'm going at him. Like, I'm going to take the whole university down with me too, because if that's how they're going to treat me, then all right.
Like these two women should be not that this makes the situation any better, but they should have to deal with this for the rest of their life, just as how Quintez Cephus is from that one season that he had to go out.
Yeah, so we'll follow this closely, and we'll let you know. I'm a big fan of Quintez Cephus. I think he's going to be a great Lion. I really do think he's going to be a great Lion, and I got him on my Dynasty team, so I'm hoping he will be a great Lion.
We really need him to be a great Lion. We got no receivers at this point.
So, yeah, but make sure, we'll keep you up to date on that. And also, make